It is perhaps one of the most chilling and compelling true crime TV interviews ever aired. A man walks into a TV station a day after his parents' remains were dug up in the family's backyard. His name is Lorenz Kraus. He is 53 years old. His parents, Franz, 92 years old, and Teresia, 83 years old, were buried in 2017, according to police. Lorenz sat down with CBS 6 anchor Greg Floyd, who only had a few moments to prepare, but then conducted one of the most incredible TV interviews connected to an unsolved case that we have ever seen.
So, did you kill your parents as a mercy killing to put them out of their misery? You can be honest with us.
I know. I'll leave that for the statement that I put on your website.
Tonight, you will see this shocking interview and get the entire story behind how it happened and how the folks at CBS 6 in Albany pulled it off. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you aboard. I'm back. I was away. Every time I go away, people worry, and I get these notes. Are you okay? Are you coming back? What's going on? I always post on social media when I'm taking vacation. So just, if you don't see me, check on social media. You'll know exactly where I am. But let me tell you, I'm so glad I'm back here tonight to cover this story and what you are about to see. Do not move, folks. But let's start here. And we've seen this in so many cases here on Court TV. Trained officers doing an interrogation. And we've seen some really good ones. We've seen some amazing ones. But these are police officers who train to do this and do this over and over again with people who they're speaking to who are suspected of committing sometimes horrific crimes. And they get them in a room and they try to figure out how to get them to admit to what they suspect they have done. And they don't always do it. Not always successful. Sometimes they are, but many times they are not successful in getting an admission. But they do get them to talk, and it becomes useful. But to get them to admit to it is not easy. Then, inside of a courtroom, cross-examination. You know, there's an art to that, and you have experienced attorneys trying so desperately to get a witness from the other side to admit that they're wrong, or they're not telling the truth, or that they did something that they're not fessing up to. We see that all the time. On Perry Mason, they always admit it. But on Court TV, how many times does someone actually admit to lying? It is rare. It's rare as a trained attorney that you can question someone and get them to tell you the truth about something that they don't want to tell the truth about. It's difficult. Want you to meet CBS 6 anchor Greg Floyd. Okay, he's a television anchor. He's super bright, he's super experienced, but he's not a trained police officer. I don't think he's been cross-examining witnesses for years. But what he did in this interview with this suspect is absolutely incredible. Incredible. This is a guy suspected of killing his parents. His parents are found by investigators in the family's backyard. This guy writes some letter and to all the local stations, and CBS 6 picks up the phone, calls him, and so they suspect that he has done this. So he's sitting down with Greg Floyd, and Greg Floyd is questioning, interviewing, interrogating, whatever you want to call it, but has this back and forth, and unbelievably takes a man who does not want to admit to anything to admit to everything. All right, no more buildup. Let's watch the interview.
Take me back to the summer of 2017. What happened to your parents?
My mother wrote me a note, which the police must have now, describing her walking across Whitehall Road, I mean, not Whitehall, Wolf Road, and she fell down on her face, and she had, when I saw her a week or so later, yellow and green, black and blue marks from this. And she wrote that down, and that was a situation that became a problem, because when elderly start to fall down, the time comes that they start to, beginning of the end. And my father also had cataract surgery, and he lost his vision to double vision, so he couldn't be he couldn't drive. So they were losing their independence and so forth.
You didn't want to see them deteriorate and go through that, did you?
And I'll mention, the police know about my sister, and having to see my sister die from cancer. I was 16, she was 14. Go through 9 months or so of, the agony of cancer patients.
So did you kill your parents as a mercy killing to put them out of their misery? You can be honest with us.
I know. I'll leave that for the statement that I put on your website.
The statement doesn't mention that.
I know,
The statement
I know.
does not mention that.
Right.
I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What did you do to your parents?
I buried them in their property.
You buried them in the backyard of that house in Albany.
Right.
At what point did they become deceased?
I need to see a calendar sometime August 2017.
And did they die at your hand? That's the question.
Right. I'll have to leave it for that statement.
But that's not in the statement. And I think
Right.
it's important for people to know what happened to your parents.
Right.
They were your parents. You loved them. They were deteriorating. What did you do?
I will.
Don't tell me you're going to leave it to the statement, because it's
Well,
not in the statement.
I know.
What did you do to your parents?
My goal is for the American people to recognize that there's 40 million boomers. They're all going to go through the same kind of problems. It affects all of us, and we need to widen up the law so that people can deal with these kind of problems in a humane way, in whatever way that people can deal with. And I did my duty to my parents.
So you ended their lives.
I won't.
You're saying that without actually saying that word. I want to hear you say that word. You
Yes.
ended their lives.
I have to
give them mercy, you're saying.
I have to plead my Fifth Amendment rights until I can disclose it with my statement there.
Did you have any concern that whatever you did was wrong?
I would never have done such a thing if I ever did it knowing it's wrong.
So you believe what you did was right. You believe taking your parents' lives was the right thing to do for their sake.
If I did it, absolutely that.
But you did do it. You're saying to us that you did it.
There's a statement there that we'll deal with more later, if you want to know.
Lawrence, I appreciate that, and we'll talk about your statement, but show me where in this statement it says that you killed your parents. It doesn't. It doesn't talk
Right.
about the fate of your parents here. You
Right.
keep talking about the statement answering my question, but the statement does not answer my question. It's the question people want to know. And I think they need to hear it from you.
Yes, there's time for that.
And I think now's the time. Did you kill your parents to put them out of their misery?
My concern for their misery was paramount. And it was a huge burden to have to face this coming up. This is a horrible situation.
Sure. So you alleviated that burden.
You're a good questioner. I have to protect my Fifth Amendment rights on this until the right time.
I'm not an attorney. I'm
Right.
not an officer of the law. You don't have to say that to me.
Yes, but I mean, whatever I say here is going to be held against me elsewhere, right?
Of course, but you probably answer to a higher authority anyway in the long run. So I think you can tell us what happened. Did you kill your parents together at the same time in the same place? What method did you use?
All that kind of stuff I would answer later with that deal with the American people.
Your parents asked you to kill them or to take their lives in a merciful fashion?
I think they want me to take responsibility for things.
They asked you to take their lives, to do what they couldn't do?
Implicitly, but not explicitly.
So you were just granting their wishes?
My mother, after my sister died, my mother would give me these do not resuscitate things every few months. And she wanted to die, given her grief for my sister, her daughter.
And you loved your parents and you wanted to honor their wishes?
You know, there's something special about our family that we can somehow read each other's minds. And so being things explicit isn't necessarily, you know, I could complete my grandmother's sentences for her, and she would say, well, you know. So, I mean, the context of all this became to bear on me.
Did one parent, did your mom or your dad more so than the other, ask you to take their lives?
They didn't explicitly say that, but they made it clear that they were going downhill.
When it actually happened, when your parents died, did they know it was happening to them?
Oh, yeah.
And they knew it was at your hand?
Well, yes, no one else's.
Right. So they realized what you were doing to them as it happened.
Yes.
They knew that this was it for them, that they were perishing at your hand.
Yes. And it was so quick.
How did you do it?
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
Well, you've just told us that
Right.
it was at your hand.
Right.
Were there drugs involved? Was
No.
there a suffocation? You suffocated them. You suffocated your parents.
Yeah.
That was the best way to take their lives, through suffocation.
Basically.
Which parent did you suffocate first?
My father, and after he died, my mother put her head on his chest, and she was there for a few hours, and then I finished her.
Okay, but again, just to be certain, in 2017, you took your father's life.
Correct.
And then moments later, or a short time later, you took your mother's life on that same day.
Right. No, well, see, that's the thing. It was late at night, and it was like late evening on one day into early morning night.
Okay. So within hours of each other.
Right.
Masterful. Getting to that point. Now, obviously, where the white flashes are, we're cutting down some of the time. He had to work him towards that, but did it. It's unbelievable. Let's get more of the story now. We've got more video to show you, too. But first, I want to bring in Stone Grissom, news director at CBS 6 Albany, WRGB-TV, the station that Lorenz contacted and it gave this chilling confession to. Stone, great to see you. For folks at Court TV who recognize you, they should. You've been on many times as a legal analyst, so it's great to see you.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome back. I missed you as well.
All right, give the folks at home the backstory here on how this guy in a T-shirt and shorts comes into your station and ends up confessing to double murder to your anchor, Greg Floyd.
It's pretty chilling. Just first looking back at that that confession interview, it was, that's the first time I've actually watched it again as a viewer. I was kind of on the other side. In fact, I was right off frame the entire time that happened, but it happened so quickly. This was an investigation. Again, the parents were missing for about 8 years, and the mother, we suspect, is what we've been told. I mean, we can't confirm this yet. We've been told the mother immigrated from Germany, and the father, coming from the son, told us that his father immigrated from Yugoslavia. I know it's different countries now, but he said it was Yugoslavia. The age probably jives with that. They disappeared. Neighbors didn't know what had happened. And he told the neighbors, allegedly, that they had moved back to Germany. So people didn't seem to suspect too much. And there's not a lot of family around. Social Security checks were still being sent somewhere. And whatever happened, we're still trying to figure this out. An investigation started last week, Tuesday, where it brought investigators to the house to do what they were calling a financial crimes investigation. Everyone suspected that was the Social Security checks. But the district attorney also brought a load of pizzas, like 6 pizzas for all the investigators. So it was very suspicious for the media. You look at that and you say, you don't really hunker down for the day to search around just for documents. That's a 1 or 2 hour search. So it seemed like there was something more going on. And as you talk to neighbors, they were saying, well, the suspicion is that something foul happened to the parents. It was the next day that the investigators then came back to that house and started digging in the backyard. And then it was the next day that Lawrence sent us an email with that 2-page document. I mean, I'm sure you've read it. It's kind of, there it is right there. It doesn't mention the parents, and it's kind of, for lack of a better term, it's gobbledygook. It starts off with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it talks about Elon Musk's son, and it goes into some political rambling. So it doesn't really say anything. It has his phone number at the bottom of the document. So I picked up the phone and called him, and he answered. And it took about 40 seconds for him to admit to me on the phone that he buried his parents in the backyard. And so the reporter, the investigative reporter, the attorney, and me just started asking him more questions about it. He said he wouldn't answer whether he killed his parents, but he wouldn't say no. And I kept telling him that on the phone. You're not saying no. You're just saying no comment. So it was very important for him to get that 2-page statement up on the website. And I talked to him on the phone, and I made a deal with him. I said, I'll put this on the website if you'll come to our station and answer questions. I mean, you can not answer questions, you can answer questions, but if you'll go on camera and actually let us ask you questions. And he agreed. And he was about 15 minutes away at that time. And that's how fast this happened. It was a 3-day, the investigation starts, they're digging in the backyard the next day. He's heading to our station the 3rd day, and we have about 15 minutes to prepare. So that's a little bit of the backdrop of how this came about. And the rest was just logistics I got off the phone and thought, I'm not sure that was a smart idea. I just invited someone everyone suspects of killing both his parents to the station. And he said yes, and he's on his way. So we kind of had to deal with, there were a lot of questions, a lot of ethical concerns, can we even pull this off? What's he going to say? Who's going to show up? I didn't know if it was going to be someone who was armed and dangerous, or if it was someone who was going to be what it turned out to be, a very polite, somewhat meek person who confessed to killing his parents.
Let me ask you this, and we have about 30 seconds before we got to take a break. The security issue, like this rambling letter, potentially buried, at a minimum, buried his parents in the backyard, likely murdered them. How did you handle security? And I see he's in shorts and a T-shirt, but you don't know what's going to show up here.
Yeah, so we have a big building. It's locked down. It's very, very secure once you get inside. The biggest concern right off the bat was where are we going to do the interview, because I didn't want him to have access if something, unforeseen happened. We wanted to make sure he was in a room. That's actually our lobby, and it's big enough. It's a relatively large lobby, but it's locked on both sides, and you need a fob key to get through each side. So we figured that's self-contained. You can't get inside the building. We also have armed security at the building as well. And the last bit, yeah, so that was the paramount concern. Also, I had to go to my higher ups and let them know what had happened and what was about to happen, and let the building know that this person was about to walk in. So for everyone's safety, the building actually evacuated pretty quickly. And all that was left was the newsroom and us.
Wow.
There were 5 of us in that lobby just doing the interview. And I actually, it's my first time ever doing it. I didn't even know why I decided to do this, but I patted him down. I frisked him when he came in.
That was smart, but it was smart.
It was very surreal.
It was smart. All right, Stone's going to stick with us, get more insight into all this. We've got more of the interview to show you. Shocking stuff here. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates the tragic abduction and murder of little Cash Gernon. Taken from his crib on video, his alleged killer claims insanity. But can he prove it? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
4 dead students.
None of it seemed to make any sense.
He was evil.
What devastation.
All I can do is scream.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episode Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Now that this has come to light and the police started investigating, and do you have any regrets?
I did the right thing for them based on the situation. I did my duty to them as a son, and everything fell into place.
I mean, some might call it playing God, deciding on their lives. It was fair for you to do that?
If the decision is going to be made, it's going to be a playing God decision.
Unbelievable moment. You're taking a look at Lorenz Kraus, who the day before that interview, his parents' bodies are dug up in the backyard of the family's home. He then ends up doing this interview for a half hour, saying he's not going to get to the ultimate question of who killed his parents or how they died, and then ends up confessing to all of it, and we're watching that confession. This is CBS 6 in Albany, New York. Take a listen to more now as he gets into the details of how he did it.
Was it a pillow that you used?
No.
What did you use to suffocate them?
For my father, my hand. For my mother, a rope.
So you strangled her?
Yeah, that would seem better.
It was strangulation, not suffocation?
Well, it's the same. No, denial of oxygen.
Okay.
But also blood circulation.
So you cut off the oxygen to both of them. That was your method?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I have it correct, because I'm a journalist and facts are important. You used your a single hand to kill your father?
Right.
Putting it over his nose, and you choked him?
Yeah.
Okay. And you did the same with your mother, but with a rope? You choked her with...
No. Just a rope.
Right, I'm sorry, but I meant you choked her with a rope, though, instead of your hand.
Right.
Did they both pass away peacefully? Did they struggle as you did it?
I would say the last minute, no. But they're, I think my father died very quickly, surprisingly quickly. That shocked me. And then, the part with my mother, went quickly too.
Did you realize what you were doing, as righteous as you may have thought it was illegal? And
Oh, yeah.
And then again, just take me through, after your mother died, how long was it before you buried them? Approximately.
2 or 3 days, actually.
So your parents' deceased bodies were in your house with you for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
When you were doing this, did you think about the financial ramifications, the fact that you would continue to take their government money?
Once that happens, and what do? The government is pissed because I took the Social Security money and gave it to people who are starving in the Philippines. Okay, then, be angry about that. But the police know all the money that I have went to people to help them, thousands of dollars. I gave almost, not all of it away, because there was still a lot left. But I gave away, I didn't play with the money, I gave it away. I didn't enrich myself.
Does that justify what you did?
No, but this is not a kill for money case, is important to say.
Are you on any medications today?
No. Well, no.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Is your mind clear? And
I'm just a little sleepy, but I'm trying to keep my eyes open, but that's okay.
Okay, but you have no mental disabilities that are affecting what you're saying here today?
Correct.
You're confident in what you said and clear of mind as you say all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would appreciate. I hope that you can put this on YouTube, the whole thing.
I'm sure we'll put this on. And are you ready to face the consequences now with the police and the authorities?
Yes, but I would like the American people to also read my statement so that everybody can have something to appeal to on this. I know my statement is I'm not really concerned about the police or the courts or anything. There's something much bigger in life, and we have to deal with the big things in life.
There's a lot to this. There's so many layers to this interview that make it so incredibly fascinating and powerful to get the confession. But then some of the other things that were talked about by Greg Floyd, the anchor who's doing the interview. Still with me is Stone Grissom, news director from CBS 6 Albany, WRGB-TV, who put this whole thing together and was right next to Greg Floyd as this is taking place. A couple things that strike me, right? This is court TV. We deal with law. We know this is a confession. Is it admissible? The part where Greg is saying, are you on medications? Or are you of sound mind and body? That sounds like the judge when you're taking a guilty plea to make sure that it stands up in court or on appeal. Did you give Greg some idea to say that and just to make sure this confession stands up in court?
Okay, we did have that conversation. I did run that by him, but it wasn't for, I mean, that's always in the back of my mind, but it wasn't for the purpose of admissibility in court. It was really for the purpose of, I guess, admissibility to the public of what was about what they were seeing. Because I wanted to make sure that whatever he told us, that the public didn't think we were just putting on someone who came off the street and was drunk or didn't know what he was saying, that he was really saying this at a public interest. So it was a very, very short conversation. Those are Greg's words. I didn't put those words in his mouth, but I did say, let's make sure that he knows what he's talking about, that he's not drunk or high or on some kind of illicit drug. So it was a short conversation.
Yeah, so
I want to also point out.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I also want to point out the beauty of this interview. Some of the great things about this interview is that Greg walked in so cold. Like he didn't even have questions. We didn't have time for any of that. We didn't even know who this guy was, his background, anything. So everything that was elicited was literally off the cuff. It was a true conversation, very organic.
Yeah, no, it was amazing because he was playing good cop and bad cop at the same time. I know he's not an officer, but and he's trying to get the story, but the way he was relating to him is amazing. The other thing was that will help potentially in the case because, right, the only thing he's got left is a potential insanity defense, is that he asked him, you knew what you were doing was wrong, which is like the legal test for insanity. Do you know the difference between right and wrong? And again, for journalistic purposes, it works, but it's also going to help prosecutors, which is what I'm looking at. Let me ask you about the moments of silence that I thought were powerful. I mean, there were times where Greg just stopped talking and just, it was like, I was almost a little bit uncomfortable, but I could see exactly what was happening. He was working, Lorenz, to continue to speak.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, like, that is one of the examples of what a seasoned investigator and a seasoned person who does interviews does. I mean, Greg, silence is power. And that really, people just want to talk after that. And it really was, those are moments where you can see Greg taking control and keeping control of that interview. It was masterful. This should be taught in every journalism school across the country. No,
it was, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, when I watched this for the first time, I started watching it and I just stayed on it and I was like, oh my goodness. Then I'm looking up, is he a former cop? Is he no, he's just a great journalist. Let me ask you this. Yes. The other thing that Lorenz kept saying in the beginning before the admission was, my Fifth Amendment rights, I'm pleading the Fifth. That you guys aren't the police, you guys aren't the government, so right. It's meaningless.
It absolutely is, and we conveyed that to him several times. Is that you can plead the Fifth, you can answer our questions or not answer our questions. We can't give you immunity. We're not going to give you a public attorney. Like we're the media. We're a public organization. But we're private. We're not part of the government in any way. And he came to us, like he wanted to talk.
Yeah, he wanted to tell his story. He didn't want to tell the whole story, but you guys got the whole story. All right, Stone is going to stick with us because there is a second interview. Because obviously, you dig up the bodies in the backyard. He then confesses for everybody in Albany on TV. Then there's the follow-up, and you see he's now wearing orange.
Thank you for seeing us again, Lawrence. Since you told me yesterday that you killed your parents, do you feel a sense of relief today about that?
Not any extra relief. No, not at all.
Doesn't look too happy now that he's locked up, charged with the murder of his parents. But that's what happens. I mean, he confessed in a television interview with CBS 6 in Albany, and then the next day they do the follow-up on him now reflecting on what has happened here. So let's take a look at this second interview with Lorenz Kraus, again arrested in part because, a huge part, because he confessed to taking the lives of his parents the day before on CBS 6.
Did you know that day, the day before, when did you know that was the time to do this?
My father laid back and was ready. He knew. I just want to say a message that there's a legal defense type of thing, and then there's a political defense. And the most important law in this country is New York State ratification law, which says that the people have the power to reassume the powers of government whensoever it is necessary to their happiness. And one of my goals was to create a board of trustees for New York State. And to create that initial trustee, someone needs to know what to do. So I'm making the claim that I'm the initial trustee of the New York State Board of Trustees, and they would have prosecutorial immunity. And so I appeal to that as having prosecutorial immunity for this case.
It's pretty much a certainty that's not going to happen. You also talked about wanting to be tried under German law.
Well, the ancient German law, yes.
Is that still something you're looking for?
I would ask for it. There's nothing wrong with asking. I mean, you never know if you'll get a yes. You can get a yes. And this country is unstable right now. You don't know what could break up. And I do think the country should break up into pieces to make it better for everyone. Even the Washington Post suggested that.
The court of public opinion seems to say that they're not happy with what they heard from you yesterday, that they think it was a cold-blooded crime. Do you understand people thinking that way?
I'm glad you gave me that feedback. We all are getting old. We're all going to need help, and we're all going to have to decide how to deal with these kinds of problems. And with 40 million boomers getting into that stage of life, they need their options open, and their families need their options open.
But who are you to decide, other than being their son? But is that decision up to you? Can you play God?
You can do your duty to your parents as they give you feedback, information, etc. And so it's really not a decision of God. It's it's a matter of what kind of lives are you trying to give your parents under grave circumstances that will be coming. If somebody falls and then ends up in the hospital, they're in like a machine that will just process them along, and you will have no way to recapture control, to get control of your own life again.
But they weren't in a hospital. They weren't hooked up to a machine. Their lifeline was you, and you snuffed out their lives.
You have to understand that the end was coming, and the world starts to go. You have to decide when your time is up.
But did they decide, or did you decide?
They were giving me hints to this effect.
And a hint's enough to go and decide to take a life?
It was information like a plea that this is the beginning of the end for them.
Well, it was the end for them because you made it the end for them.
Okay, I'll have to keep. I think that.
What can you tell us about your parents? What kind of people were they, your mother and your father?
My father was more. What my mother said, do whatever you want as long as you do good in school. And so I sort of measured myself as, is what I'm doing good for school or not? And usually that kept me on track to being doing good in school. And my father was not so much important. Sometimes he would say, "Oh, you don't have to take that test." Or
Were you not as close with your father?
I was close with them in different ways. But I wouldn't say that I was not as close with my father. I always felt closer to my father, I think.
Why did you decide to kill your father first?
Yeah, I can't talk about that. I'll listen to that advice of the lawyer.
After you took their lives, it's been 8 years. What have you been doing in those 8 years?
Trying to make good on their lives by trying to, I tried to start a Vogue Saver philosophy, which never existed before. And I think it's very important to civilization to try to start a new civilization, to recultivate the German people, because after World War II, they were totally wiped out culturally by the United States. Everything was destroyed, and then they were basically Americanized. But I understood that the essence of German culture is folk teleology, which is a philosophical term.
Don't you think your parents might have rather continued to live as opposed to you helping German culture?
My parents always believed in doing their duty. My mother always said, I do this out of duty to you. It's not as concerned with love and life as you might think it is.
Was it a loving relationship you had with your parents?
Not in a loving, I wouldn't characterize it as loving the way you might say it in America. It was harsh.
It was harsh.
Oh yeah, as a kid, it was very harsh.
So was any of the decision to take their lives in retribution for that?
No.
That the fact that you had a harsh upbringing?
No.
We're done.
Okay, sorry.
Sure.
Unbelievable. All right, let's bring back in Stone Grissom, news director, CBS 6 Albany, WRGB TV. Have you learned any more about his life and what, did he work? How, he's in his 50s.
Yeah, he alluded a couple of times to having some very expensive paintings. He claims that he invented different products that he has distributed out in the public. So he seems to allude to the fact that he has money. That was the purpose of that second interview. We went and we actually contacted the sheriff and said, can we come into the jail and talk to him? He seems to be forthright. He might not want to talk to us because he got arrested based on our interview. But he was forthright. And if you see in that interview, there are times when he says there's the legal side, he's kind of pointing to the side, and then there's the, what his side, the bigger side. There was an attorney there. We didn't go through the attorney to have the interview done, but there was an attorney there who was advising him. He still wanted to talk to us. We didn't get the answers that we wanted because the attorney shut us down finally. I'm unclear why that didn't happen earlier, but he let it go on at least as long as he did. And we didn't quite get to the answers we were seeking for that second interview. But it just a glimpse into his mind was, troubling and disturbing. And it ultimately led to the tragic death of his parents.
Yeah, and he seemed to try to frame it as a mercy killing, but there's no evidence that they were that sick. They were just older people who have older people things like cataracts and things like that.
Exactly. In fact, he mentioned cataracts at one point. It didn't, and the manner in which he caused their death, or even said he caused their death. I mean, he choked them. He strangled them to death. That's in no way, in my book, a mercy killing. But that's his perspective, and he seemed to be clinging to that. But there's also, he hid those bodies for 8 years. He buried them in the backyard. He spent 3 days with their bodies trying to figure out what to do. Not only did he bury the bodies, but he planted trees on top of each body to hide the fact. And that was really what led the investigators to find the bodies because one of the investigators came into the backyard and for whatever reason saw the trees and thought they were oddly placed. He didn't like the landscaping decision. And that actually is where they started focusing, and then they brought the cadaver dogs in there.
Wow. I guess if this thing goes to trial, and we only have about 15 seconds left here, either you or Greg or both of you are going to have to testify in this whole thing.
I guarantee we're getting subpoenaed.
Yeah.
I guarantee everyone in that room is going to get subpoenaed.
All right. Stone.
Yeah, just about how it came out, too.
Yeah,
So.
Exactly. And you made the initial contact. Stone Grissom, news director, lawyer, great guy. Great to have you back on Court TV. And we appreciate you sharing all of this with us and our viewers because completely fascinating and great journalism. Congratulations.
Great. Thank you, Vinny. Great to be here. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Amazing. All right. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinny Politan Investigates, the abduction and murder of Cash Gernon. Video captured the suspect in Cash's room, taking him away and then returning where Cash's twin brother was still sleeping. Why didn't the suspect abduct Cash's brother? Tonight, we investigate.
Court TV's Vinny Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinny Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV. Interview with a Killer. New season premieres Saturday, October 25th, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. New video of Celeste. Celeste Rivas Hernandez reported missing from her home in April 2024. On September 8th, 2025, her decomposing remains were found in the front trunk of a Tesla at a Los Angeles impound lot that was registered to the singer David. And now TMZ has obtained home security footage that appears to show Celeste Rivas arguing with neighbors near her parents' home in Elsinore, California. This video is reportedly shot on September 8th, 2024, 6 months after Celeste was reported missing, exactly 1 year before her body was discovered in the Tesla.
All the way up to the end?
Right there. I'll tell you where that. See that door right there? Number 2, not down there.
Let me talk real quick, okay? You gonna let me talk?
I ain't gonna let you talk.
No, you ain't gonna let me talk. Why you not gonna let me talk? You tripping.
I ain't tripping.
Nah, you tripping. How about you ain't tripping? You gonna let a woman talk?
TMZ also reporting that the death certificate was found on September 8th. It says the manner of death is pending as the investigation continues. The certificate says an autopsy was performed, but they're awaiting toxicology results. And she was not pregnant, nor had she been pregnant in the last year. Please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Noriah Whitehead, missing since the 17th, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just 15 years old. If you see Noriah, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Milwaukee Police in Wisconsin. Numbers on the screen right now. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. Vinny Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.